Pat Robertson has a brilliant theory on who to blame for the mass shooting in Las Vegas. Here we go.
Violence in the streets, ladies and gentlemen. Why is it happening? You know, what I'd like to give you is the fact that we have disrespect for authority. There is profound disrespect of our president all across this nation. They say terrible things about him. It's in the news. It's in other places. There's disrespect now for our national anthem, disrespect for our veterans, disrespect for the institutions of our government, disrespect for the court system, all the way up and down the line, disrespect. And when you lose that kind of respect, you lose this authority. But more than anything, until there is biblical authority, there has to be some controlling authority in our society, and there is none. And when there is no vision of God, the people say, there's no vision of God, the people run amok. When there's no vision of God, the people run amok. And that we have taken from the American people the vision of God, the whole idea of reward and punishment, an ultimate judge of all our actions. We've taken that away. And when there is no vision of God, the people run amok.
Wow. Nice victim blaming 101. The lack of the vision of God. That's why there's this tragedy where 59 people were massacred and over 500 were injured. Because we don't have a vision of God. That sounds a lot like the Taliban. I forgot what the question is. The answer is God. More God. And of course, he doesn't mean a lovey-dovey hippie Jesus interpretation of God. He means the furthest right-wing possible interpretation of fundamentalist Christianity version of God. So, man, what kind of a person does it take where the answer for them just always reverts back to my wizard in space? I mean, that's, you haven't sufficiently appeased the Jigglypuff in space. Show deference. Show deference to the Sky Wizard, or else he might slaughter you. And isn't that amazing? They always have these contradictions baked into their arguments. Like, God is all-knowing, omnipotent, and all-loving, and a graceful God. And then you ask, well, hold on now, how is that a loving God if because you didn't have a vision of him, whatever that means, he's going to have 59 of you murdered and injure over 500 of you? Isn't that God an asshole? Isn't that God a lot more like the devil than a God? Well, and then what's the dodge? Well, you know, the Lord works in mysterious ways. What? So God commits a genocide and they go, well, who am I to judge that and say it's bad? I'll just say the Lord works in mysterious ways and there's a reason for everything. Or you can critically look at it and go, damn, for a God, he sure does act a lot like Hitler. So, just shut off the mind and say, God, God. Thank you, Pat, for your very intellectual response to the shooting. Now, let's break down some of the other arguments as well. Earlier on in the clip there, he says, well, but there's violence in the streets. Why? Because there's disrespect for authority. So that's why the Vegas shooting happened. There's disrespect for authority. Well, funny, because I remember when Obama was president, you had nothing but disrespect for authority. All you had was disrespect for authority because you didn't personally agree with the president at the time. Funny how back then you didn't say disrespect for authority was a bad thing. You thought it was a good thing because it was a guy you disagreed with. But now it's a guy you agree with, and so all of a sudden disrespect for authority happens, and look, people get slaughtered in the streets. I blame you, the people who disrespect Donald Trump. Can you imagine believing that? The reason there was a massacre in our streets is because people aren't sufficiently kind to the snowflake feelings of our man-baby president. Wow. Wow. What a reading of the situation. What a worldview. And then he goes, yes, the shooting happened because of disrespect for the national anthem. Excuse you? So again, from the same people who love to scream about free speech, the left-wingers on college campuses censoring people, snowflakes. I care about free speech. Did you kneel during the anthem? Oh, my feelings, I'm so triggered. Where's my safe space? Is that a microaggression? I think that's a microaggression. Disrespect for the national anthem leads to mass shootings in the street. You really think that's what's going on? And then he goes, and disrespect for our veterans. Disrespect for our veterans. Pat, the Republican Party has repeatedly cut funding to the VA. They've repeatedly said no to programs that would help the over 50,000 homeless veterans we have in the United States of America. So don't talk to me about disrespect for veterans until you realize the main culprit is the Republican Party. They're also most likely to send people off to fight and die in unnecessary wars of aggression. That seems pretty disrespectful to me. Hey, I want you to fight and die for a cause that's pretty irrelevant because it's not like there's an offensive threat against us. We just want to send you to go fight in this place or that place for natural resources. That seems pretty disrespectful to me. Go fight and die for oil. That seems disrespectful to me. It seems disrespectful to me to say, you should be homeless even though you were a veteran. I'm not for the program that fixes that problem. It seems pretty disrespectful to me to cut the social programs that these people depend on. It seems disrespectful to cut their health care. But no, of course what he means is if you do a silent protest of police brutality by kneeling during the anthem, you're disrespecting the veterans and you're disrespecting the anthem. And it's because of you there was just a mass shooting in Vegas from a 64-year-old, loner, crazy white dude. Weird how it always, somehow, in Pat Robertson's mind, it's always the fault of the left. There's always some sort of mental jujitsu thing, you go, and it's the fault of the left. Or not, and you're a fucking idiot.